Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to College Football Red Zone, where I take a holistic look at all 138 FBS programs entering the 2026 college football season, give you my general thoughts on the roster, as well as give you my record prediction going into a brand new season of college football as well. So, very excited to jump into this next team as we continue to embroil ourselves specifically in the CUSA because we have an actual schedule that we can look at. And so, because of that, what we can do is give our now full thoughts on the CUSA and give you an actual record prediction. So, very excited for all that and much more, which reminds me real fast before you get too comfortable in your chair, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, as well as hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into business here. And how about we talk about the guys that are going to be the defending CUSA Conference champions? And that is going to be Kennesaw State, led by their second year head coach, Jerry Mack, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for being able to turn this thing around quickly. I remember when their longtime head coach, who was responsible for leading them out of the FCS ranks, and he had quite a bit of success at the FCS ranks and coming up to the FBS level. And they struggled in that first year. I thought it was premature at the time that Kennesaw State fired that particular head coach. I thought he should have gotten more time given the circumstances, but they obviously have hit a home run hire here in Jerry Mack, given that he has led this Kennesaw State team in their second year at the FBS level to a conference championship. So I definitely want to give them kudos right from the get-go as well. That definitely should absolutely matter for sure as we get into a brand new season of Kennesaw State football, which is why they're getting quite a bit more respect in comparison to last season. They do come in as my 105th ranked football team coming into this year, and honestly, one of the best teams that we have in the CUSA, right? So, what is going to take for them to go ahead and make that repeat happen, to be able to successfully defend that CUSA title that they've earned last year after a 10-4 overall record? So, it's going to have to start at the quarterback position because they lost their starting quarterback to the transfer portal, Amari Odom, who, by the way, wasn't even supposed to be the starter originally last year. Well, he ended up taking over midway through the season and never looked back. Had nearly 3,000 yards and 26 touchdowns, but he's not even here anymore. He ended up going to Syracuse under Fran Brown to help turn things around for that Orange football team. And so they're going to need, once again, to find a way to get that similar production out of the quarterback position. And they ended up doing a little bit of a quarterback trade in Ricky Collins, who doesn't have nearly as much productivity as what we saw from Amari Odom last year, but he was a highly touted recruit in the high school ranks. He was a four-star recruit, just hasn't had too much of a chance to play in recent memory. But if he can live up to that blue chip potential, he is going to thrive in Jarek Mack's system. So, going to be interesting to see what we get out of the quarterback position because we just don't know what Ricky Collins looks like on a football field from a long-term perspective. We never really saw him play in the college ranks over a long period of time. He does have the talent, though, so that is something that I definitely want to point out right away from the get-go. But the good news is for him is that whoever wins that starting quarterback job, whether it's Ricky Collins or if it ends up being somebody else, good news for him is that he's going to have some weapons to be able to work with. He's going to have a really nice backfield tandem that I thought is going to really surprise some people. For those that are not as familiar about this Kennesaw State program, whether it's Latrell Murrell from West Georgia, which is funny because they do actually play West Georgia, so he'll play against his old team. Not to spoil the what the schedule looks like too terribly much. Had over 1,100 scrimmage yards last year, so a really good running back out of West Georgia that they were able to grab out of the transfer portal. They also grabbed Tristan Morgan from that running back position as well, out of Benedictine College. Almost had 1,000 yards in his own right, plus 7 touchdowns too. So, Tristan Morgan is another guy that can take some meaningful reps as well. So you look at this running back tandem, and you could quietly have one of the best running back duos in this conference, which is going to really help considering you may have a talented but an inexperienced quarterback in the transfer portal, coming from the transfer portal, trying to get familiar with your offensive scheme overall. And then at wide receiver, yes, you do lose Christian Moss, who goes to Washington after a 700-yard campaign. But I really like the additions that they added to kind of backfill the loss of Christian Moss. I like the addition of Devon Slaughter from Tennessee State, who had over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns from the FCS ranks, and then Keon Davis, Division Two Virginia Union, also had over 500 yards and 6 touchdowns as well. It's got some solid size on him as well. So that's a really fascinating ad. So it's going to be interesting to see what's that transition rank from the Division Two ranks now going up to the FBS group of six ranks, right? So that could be quite the transition that you have on your hands, but could be a talented football player as well. So the wide receiver core, I think, actually could be a little bit better than last season. The $1 million question is how are things going to look on the defensive side of the ball, as well as how are they going to replace the losses that they have on the offensive line? Because Josiah Chenault and Brandon Best, those were two interior offensive linemen that were both on all conference lists last year, and they're no longer with the program whatsoever. You're talking about losing a Josiah Chenault to Sam Houston, which I thought that was actually kind of surprising that they were able to grab him out of the transfer portal. Figured he was going to go to the power conference ranks after having an all conference caliber season. Did not happen. Big win for Sam Houston. Not so big win, obviously, for Kennesaw State. Brandon Best is also gone as well. Another interior offensive lineman. He goes to East Carolina. And I mean, that's a really good offensive lineman. So those are two all conference caliber guys that you're going to have to replace at the line of scrimmage. And speaking of that line of scrimmage, I'm also a little concerned about what that pass rush is going to look like as well. They lose their leading pass rusher in Elijah Hill, transfers to Kansas State, and he nearly had double-digit sacks last year. That's incredibly hard to do considering in college football, you're playing significantly less games than what you are in the NFL, right? So for him to nearly have a double-digit season speaks to how disruptive of a pass rusher Elijah Hill is. And so losing him to Kansas State definitely is a bummer for sure. Plus, they also lose to Rico Washington Jr., one of their top corners, to Boise State. Had 11 pass breakups last year, was very disruptive, even though it didn't lead to very many interceptions. So there's a few questions that Kennesaw State is going to have to answer for sure, whether it's what does things look like at the quarterback position? Can Ricky Collins live up to that potential that he showed back when he was playing high school football? And then what are they also going to do in terms of how things are going to look in the trenches for both sides of the ball, plus who's going to step up in the secondary to replace Jericho Washington? So definitely a handful of questions, but I am going to give this team a little bit more benefit of the doubt than last year, obviously, because Jerry Mack has proven that he can take a roster that was foreseen to be worse than last year and have a tremendous amount of success and win the conference. So, what does that mean from a record perspective, though? So, I look at this Kennesaw State football team, and I think even in a worst case scenario, they should be in a bowl game. I think this is one of the more safer bets in terms of who we're going to see in a bowl game. I think Kennesaw State absolutely should be one of those teams right now. In terms of how they get there, how they get to that conference championship game and try to defend their title once and for all. After non-conference play comes to an end, their first 3 games, I think, is going to really determine a lot of things about how the rest of the CUSA picture is going to look like. Whether it being playing Jacksonville State at home, and that is a rematch of the CUSA title game from last year, one that Kennesaw State was able to win in a nail biter. So it starts there in terms of handling business against Jacksonville State. You also have Liberty, which I know Liberty has been disappointing the last couple of years, but Liberty is still one of the best programs in this conference. And until it's been proven more than a shadow of a doubt that they're not that type of program anymore, Liberty should still be considered a dangerous threat to win this conference. You get them at home, so that's going to be an important game for you to win as well. And then a sneaky tough game, too, could be the road game against Missouri State. I mean, that's Missouri State, maybe not the same team as last year, and they could be due for a regression, but You're going to have to go play on the road. That's your first road game in conference play. So that could really set the tone as well for the rest of your season. If they can get through this middle 3 to 4 games, so I think it's set up very nicely to where Kennesaw State can finish strong. I think they can win 4 of their last 5 games. The Western Kentucky one on the road might be a tough one, and that could prevent Kennesaw State from making it to the CUSA championship. But overall, I do think that it sets up nicely to where Kennesaw State is at least in the picture. I don't know if it will be enough, though, to make it back to the CUSA title game. But they do have one of the lighter strength of schedules, and so that does allow them to have a ceiling where they can get back to 10-2 and win 10 games for the second year in a row, and that'll be an incredible success if that happens under Jerry Mack. But for now, that is my current read on the 105th ranked team in college football. But I'm definitely am curious to hear your thoughts. So, am I too high on this Kennesaw State football team, or am I too low on the Owls going into 2026? Definitely let me know down in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this breakdown of this particular CUSA team, do a couple of favors for me as well. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and then hit that subscribe button as well. If you do happen to be brand new to the channel, this is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.